Okay, so here we kind of captured our thinking after reading the article for what the American dream is. Some of what we have here: the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So kind of that old school definition of America out of the founding documents. Where you come from doesn't define where you'll end up. And we kind of have that here too with the opportunity to achieve through hard work. Trying to see, looks different for everybody. Having the right to work hard in order to achieve your own opportunity.
Are you trying to read my handwriting?
No, I'm trying like more on those ideas that go together with that concept. So for a lot of people, goes back to that old concept of America having streets lined with gold. You can come here with nothing, you can gain everything. That opportunity is presented for betterment. There is one that talks about privilege. And so that kind of is a whole new dynamic of it that's entering the conversation. We always presented it as, oh, if you work hard enough, you can end up better than where you were. And we're realizing today that, certain people start. We do have ones that talk about the materialism end. And so some of the goals and things that are here. Nicest car, biggest house, appliances, brand new electronics, newest toys, perfect neighborhood. Cars, money, big houses. In that way. Consider that the quote that you have in the article from James Truslow Adams, do they have that dated in the article? Like, do they attribute a date he wrote that? Yeah, think about how recent that definition is from Adams, that the concept of the American dream may have always been in the background of things. Nobody actually put it pen to paper until that far ahead. And so we have to think about some of what we're seeing with the pieces. So first, if we kind of roughly date this, let's say 1800 and open this up. As we move into the 20th century, we of course see industrialization. As we move closer into the 20th century, we put it like here, we start to see the rise, not just of industrialization, but the rise of like jobs. If you think pre-20th century, most people had a profession. You were it. You didn't necessarily have hours. You didn't have the opportunity to be off and do other things and explore. But as industrialization gets more specific, as people now have jobs, we have free money that is there. And so we do see that rise of materialism. And especially post-World War II, as you move towards the 1950s, some of these concepts of the American dream become much more definite. The house in the suburbs, the car in the driveway, the 2.5 kids, that concept of keeping up with the Joneses. If your neighbors get something nice and new, you feel the pressure to get something nice as well, so that you're seen on equal footing. So when we look at these concepts of the American dream, we definitely have these that are present. And of course, if we throw a wrench into it that isn't really in the book, think about the promise of the American dream to the immigrant in the 20th century. Especially if you look 1925, you're right between a lot of the early European immigrant movement and that changing flex of it as the 20th century continues onward. Like, have you thought about where your immigrant, we're a nation of immigrants, we all are, where your immigration story comes from? Like how far back you can go to somebody stepping foot here brand new? And so you think about that too, that like that promise, that lure brought people here. You know, my grandfather stepped off a boat from Italy with nothing in his pocket. He didn't even speak English. He couldn't even read or write in English. So, you know, he came here for that opportunity and that purpose because in his village, like they had nothing. So when we look here with this concept, this really is getting towards now we got to make the flex. How viable is this today? And so if you look at the questions that follow it on your little sheet, think a little more about, hey, is this still an idea that we should pursue now? Is this still something that's open and a thing for you? These same concepts, because we're starting to see the move. We said kind of 1950s was the big era of the American dream. People are starting to realize now, I can get a job, I can barely make it, but I can't make things better. You know, our parents had this concept of, oh, well, we can leave our kids in a better place. People are starting to see that's a lot harder to do now than it was before. So these are where some of those questions go. Which idea would you like to go to next? We likely will